Welcome to another edition of JW Broadcasting. This month, we will see examples of what young ones around the world have done to seek the kingdom first. Also, you will meet a brother who got into a lot of trouble early in his life. But how did the truth help him to straighten out his life? We look forward to his story. We will also visit a language course in Ecuador. What is it like to learn a new language to expand our ministry? We will find out. This is the March program of JW Broadcasting. My theme for this month's broadcast is Young Ones, Build Your Future with Jehovah. If you do, 1 Timothy 6:19 assures that you will safely treasure up for yourself a fine foundation for the future, and you will get a firm hold on the real life. Obviously, we will be directing many of our comments directly to you, dear young ones, in Jehovah's organization. Yet if we think about it, all of us figuratively are very young ones compared to eternity, how long we hope to live. So in a sense, our comments during this broadcast have application to all of us. Personally, I am so thankful to Jehovah that positive peer pressure was put on me to enter the pioneer ministry right out of high school. What a blessing and a protection it was to enter the regular pioneer work at age 17 and to be able to go to Bethel at 18. Even though there was considerable worldly pressure put on me to pursue university education, I am so happy that with Jehovah's help, I decided to build my future with Jehovah. Truly, I have no regrets. And this is always true of young ones who serve Jehovah from their hearts. They have no regrets. In fact, you will enjoy these expressions from young ones who are building their future with Jehovah.
Before I started pioneering, I was really nervous that I wouldn't be able to get my time in every month.
It was a bit hard when I started pioneering because I didn't have a car.
My boss, he didn't give me part-time work.
I found it really hard to balance schoolwork and pioneering at the same time.
My biggest struggle was fear of man, so that really hindered me because I wasn't very good at talking to people.
Having a good routine was the struggle.
My brother and I are the only ones in the truth. My family didn't understand why we wanted to go preaching.
I didn't think that I'd make a good pioneer.
I've had type 1 diabetes since I was 5, so I was always worried about whether or not I could balance that health condition with pioneering.
Challenges don't seem that big now, but back at that time they were a really big deal. But the coolest thing was how Jehovah helped me.
Prayer to Jehovah helped me overcome my fears.
My family were a massive help from Jehovah because my dad was the one who first encouraged me to pioneer. When I did start pioneering, he promised that I would have the full support of my family.
When I spoke to brothers and sisters who spent their youth in the full-time service, that really helped me because it was really encouraging and it really motivated me to want to make my own memories and my own experiences in the full-time service.
So there were practical things I could do. When I didn't have a car, I just walked or I caught the bus. I had to work out what my priorities were first, so I had to find out how many hours did I have to go witnessing every week So then I just sat down and I looked at every day and planned out which days I could go witnessing, which days I had to go to school, and also allocate time so that I could do my homework and study.
Having a schedule was really good because I could see it all out in front of me, and I could see that the hour requirement was actually attainable, so that made it a lot less daunting.
I first set short-term goals of pioneering in the special months of activity. Then I was able to begin continuous auxiliary, and then eventually I started regular pioneering.
One of the best things I did to prepare myself for pioneering was to auxiliary pioneer beforehand. It really set me up to be able to overcome any challenges that I faced while I was pioneering.
I thought about Malachi 3:10. I knew I trusted in Jehovah, but this was my chance to test him out.
I prayed, put my trust in Jehovah, and put my application in.
After my form was in for pioneering, my brother called me and offered me work.
I had unemployment for 3 months, which wasn't a good time. But during that time, I had Jehovah as my main focus, and so he supported me and he didn't let me down.
Asking brothers and sisters to come and work with me maybe on days that I knew that I wouldn't get as much support really helped. That helped me to organise my hours a little bit more, and also I'd get to know my brothers and sisters more as well.
One of the greatest joys of pioneering has been to pioneer with Mum. And we had the privilege of going to the pioneer school together, which was really special.
Psalm 16 verse 8 reminds me that Jehovah is right beside me. When I'm preaching, it's like Jehovah is holding my hand.
So with full-time service, I love making Jehovah happy. With everything that he's given me, I'm finally able to give something back.
Looking back, pioneering, it was the best decision I've ever made. It's opened up so many different avenues of service to Jehovah, and it helped me also to have that real desire to want to stay in full-time service.
Helping someone on the road to everlasting life, it's the best feeling ever, and it's really irreplaceable.
The only thing I can say, as a young person, start pioneering.
What a fine attitude those young ones have. They are clearly following in Jesus' footsteps. Jesus was the wisest man who ever walked the earth. He could have pursued any career and truly excelled at it. He could have been the greatest carpenter who ever lived. Think about it. He helped his father build the physical universe. Can you imagine what kind of houses he could have built? Or what if he had pursued being an inventor? With his perfect brain, he probably could have invented the telephone, automobile, or computer in the first century. Or what about becoming a businessman? With perfect intelligence, he likely could have come out on top of every business transaction that he entered, becoming the richest businessman who ever lived. Or have you ever thought about if he had pursued becoming an athlete? And excelling in athletic contests was a huge endeavor in Jesus' day. With a little training, it is likely that his perfect body would have outperformed all people with imperfect bodies, enabling him to become the most famous athlete who ever lived. Or one more example, what if he had decided to become a doctor? He could cure sick people, even raise the dead. Can you imagine how much he could have charged rich people to raise their dead loved ones? But Jesus pursued none of these careers. Why? Because he knew that any of such endeavors would have only very limited and temporary benefits. Instead, he pursued something he knew would bring far-reaching and everlasting benefits, the full-time ministry. If this is how the wisest man who ever walked the earth, if this is how he reasoned, we are wise if we strive to think the same way. That makes me think of the comments of a well-adjusted teenage brother whom we served while in the circuit work many years ago. This young brother went straight into the regular pioneer work out of high school, and I asked him why he did so. He explained that he knew he could have gotten a full-time secular job and bought a new car for himself. But he reasoned that in a few years, that car would rust out and break down, and he would have nothing. But he knew that he could go into the pioneer work and build a close relationship with Jehovah, and perhaps even find an honest-hearted person and be able to teach that one the truth. And he knew that would last forever. Now, that is some wise thinking on the part of that young brother. And today, that brother has a beautiful Christian wife and several spiritual children, and he is serving as a fine elder. But if you young ones are going to think this way and continue to pursue spiritual goals, it is vital that you wisely choose your associates. In a sense, our associates can be likened to an elevator. What do we mean? Well, they can take you up or they can take you down. If you choose wisely, they will take you up, elevate your good qualities, and make you a better person. But if you choose poorly, they will take you down. Depending on how badly you choose, they can take you way down to the basement, even the sub-basement. At Proverbs 13:20, our loving Heavenly Father, who made us, explains how it works. Jehovah tells us there, the one walking with the wise will become wise, but the one who has dealings with the stupid will fare badly. Walking with and having dealings with means associating with. And who are the stupid ones? Well, this scripture contrasts such a person with those who are wise. It is not talking about someone who lacks mental intellect. It is talking about someone who does not make wise decisions spiritually from Jehovah's standpoint. And if we think about it, anyone who is not really serving Jehovah, at least right now, that one is unwise indeed. And if we associate closely with such ones, Jehovah says that we will fare badly. We could use another illustration. Think about someone who is physically sick and is running a high fever. If we spend a lot of time with that person, we will probably catch the same sickness. Or worse, if we spend a lot of time near a dead body, a corpse, we will probably pick up a disease. Well, it is similar with spending time with a person who is spiritually sick, or worse, spiritually dead. On the other hand, if we choose as our associates those who love Jehovah and who are building their everlasting future with Jehovah, we will benefit greatly. Please observe carefully this variety of young ones who are busy storing up treasures in heaven with Jehovah. how heartwarming it is to us, and we know it is to Jehovah, to see these beautiful young people doing what Jesus encourages at Matthew chapter 6, 20 and 21. There Jesus encourages, "Store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And if we think about it, in the final analysis, after all is said and done, whether we're younger or older, our net worth will be what we have stored up in heaven with Jehovah. We will not be able to take material treasures with us through the Great Tribulation. And if we die, we certainly will not be able to take material treasures with us. But we can take spiritual treasures with us through the Great Tribulation and even through death and resurrection. It is true with all of Jehovah's people, as it is with the anointed, what is stated at Revelation 14:13. It says there, "The things they did go right with them." And how encouraging it is to see young ones getting baptized, publicly demonstrating that they are giving their lives to Jehovah. And we sincerely hope that you young ones who are not yet baptized will not hold back from getting baptized as soon as you qualify. The sooner you can get baptized, the sooner you will receive greater protection and blessings from Jehovah. Not long ago, it made me very happy to observe a little 10-year-old brother get baptized. And young ones, never be afraid to identify yourself as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Never allow the fear of what others may think to cause you to hesitate to do so. Jehovah tells us at Proverbs 29:25, "Trembling at men is a snare, but the one trusting in Jehovah will be protected." Many years ago, when I was in school, I can remember being, at times, somewhat worried about how my fellow classmates would view me. But then a little while later, I got out of school and never ever again even saw most of those former classmates. Then it dawned on me. It doesn't really matter what people think about us. It is Jehovah's rating of us that truly counts. Humans cannot add even 5 seconds to our lifespan, but Jehovah can add or subtract eternity, and He alone can also give us true happiness. And as Proverbs 29:25 indicates, what a protection it is to courageously identify ourselves as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, fully trusting Jehovah and taking our stand solidly with Him. Never be ashamed of who you are. You are one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And please, dear young ones, we warmly encourage you to listen to those who love you. Jehovah loves you very much. The governing body loves you very much. The elders love you very much. Your Christian parents love you very much. And these ones will tell you the truth, even though at times it may not be what you want to hear. They will not tickle your ears perhaps like ones at school or in the neighborhood, who don't really love you or have your best interest at heart. But please believe those who will tell you the truth because they love you. And never view Jehovah's laws and principles as depriving you of something good. View them as protecting you from what will hurt you. If you recall, Satan convinced Eve that she was being deprived by Jehovah and was missing out on something good. Now, it is true that Eve was missing out on something. But what was she really missing out on? A tormented conscience. Her beautiful hair turning gray. Her teeth falling out. Her perfect skin wrinkling up like a prune. Being bent over from old age. Hobbling around on a cane. And finally dying. But Satan convinced her that Jehovah was depriving her. So foolishly, she reached out to get what she thought she was missing out on. Well, Satan will try to use the same kind of strategy on you. But please, don't let him do it. This also makes me think of an experience a brother once related. He said that he was visiting an animal observatory and a large lion lunged toward him, but was prevented from reaching him by a thick glass pane, separating the animals from the observers. As the lion stood on his hind legs, clawing the glass and baring his massive teeth, the brother came to realize in a special way the protective value of that barrier. Previously, he said that he somewhat viewed the glass pane as a restriction because the smudges on it partially blurred his view. But now he viewed it as a real protection. Well, in a similar way, Jehovah doesn't want Satan, who is described as a roaring, devouring lion at 1 Peter 5:8. He doesn't want him to gobble down you young ones. And his laws and principles are designed to keep that from happening to you. So please, listen to Jehovah. He loves you. You would probably agree that having good friends is of great encouragement in your service to Jehovah. You may also recognize that there is more to being a friend than simply clicking links on a computer screen or a smartphone. But where can you find good friends when there seems to be no one to choose from? In this dramatization, consider the example of this young brother who struggled with this very question.
My name's Akil. When I was 18, my family moved to a new city. It was bad enough leaving my friends behind, but now I wasn't sure if I could make new ones. My parents seemed really happy. I didn't want to make them feel bad by telling them how I really felt. The new school wasn't much better. Until I met Cameron. He seemed like a pretty cool guy. Soon, his friends became my friends.
was true, he actually proved it by the association that he kept. If we think about one of the closest friendships recorded in the scriptures, it was that of David and Jonathan. What was it that David and Jonathan shared in common? It wasn't their age.
Akil, you were texting in the meeting.
I shouldn't have sent the text. I'm sorry. But Cameron is a good person. He might even study one day.
I understand that, Akil. But we all have to be careful with how much time we spend with people that don't love Jehovah. See, their values are just different. You know what Proverbs 13:20 says? Walk with those who are wise. So why don't you seek out friends who love Jehovah? And you will make friends that last a lifetime.
How am I supposed to do that? There's no one my age in the congregation.
Akil, good friends can come from unexpected places.
Mom, I had good friends. Back home. We all felt bad that night. The next day, Cameron posted pictures of a party he had. My parents were right. I broke off my association with Cameron and his friends, but I still felt lost.
Hi, Akil. Do you have field service plans for Saturday?
No.
Good, now you do. I'll see you at the 9:30 meeting, okay?
After service, Max had the group over for refreshments. Did you take these?
You like them?
Yeah.
My wife, she was always the photographer. She loved photography. And then one anniversary, she went out and bought me a camera. And from that moment on, I was hooked too. Time flies so quickly, it's hard to believe she passed away 12 years ago now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But you still take pictures?
I do. I really enjoy photography. There's something about being close to Jehovah's creation. It reminds me that we're never really alone, you know?
Good friends can come from unexpected places and unexpected ages. As I spent more time with Max, I realized it was just like David and Jonathan. Their friendship was based not on age, but on their love for Jehovah. And they helped each other. And with Max's help, I was able to keep a good spiritual routine without interruption. Although we weren't the same age, Max became my good friend. I just needed to see what was right in front of me.
Yes, friends can come in various ages. And the best kind of friend is one who encourages us in our service to Jehovah. We all need to work hard on making spiritual progress, learning new things about Jehovah and His qualities. So we want friends who will help us do that. There is a saying that experience is the best teacher, but that is not really accurate. Experience is often the hard way to learn. Brother Fernando Casillas was born in Mexico, but when he was a baby, his family moved to the United States. The neighborhood he grew up in had a lot of gang influence. This had a very negative impact on him. But despite these circumstances, notice how the truth attracted him.
I used to love violence. I dreamed of violence. My gang was my religion. I got into the prison system at a young age. At first, they sent me to a juvenile facility, but I got kicked out of there for a riot. Basically, they deemed me a threat to the safety and security of the institution, the guards, and other inmates, and was sent to solitary confinement to finish off my prison term. Me thinking I was violent back then was nothing compared to what I came out with. Basically, what you try to come out to be is the best killer out of all. After my incarceration, I was deported to Mexico. I used to carry a weapon with me everywhere I went. After a while, we started getting involved with bad people. Eventually, my girlfriend got in trouble. Once that was over, she saw Kingdom Hall. My girlfriend had been to meetings as a child, so she basically dragged me to the Kingdom Hall. They treated me nice. And that's when I started to get to know Omar. So I started hanging around with him and his wife, me and my girlfriend at the time, going to meetings. But it wasn't until I found out this guy used to be one of my rivals. I was very, very upset. Felt betrayed because he never told me. Everything that was going through my head was, I gotta find a way to get him over here so I can hurt him. After thinking about all the things that I wanted to do to him, and I'd running it through my head over and over again, I decided to just stay friends with him. And eventually, we decided to start studying together. Being the way I was, is I thought that there's no way a God can forgive me. The scripture in Isaiah 55:7 really helped me, where it says, "Let the wicked man leave his way, and the evil man his thoughts. Let him return to Jehovah, who will have mercy on him." As time went by, I started understanding clearly that Jehovah does forgive. By that time, I had already kind of made a decision that I was done with doing time in prison. I just decided to cut all ties with everybody that had anything to do with anything illegal. I felt like a free person. And after progressing and quitting the habits that I had of smoking and drinking a lot, I became an unbaptized publisher. But my father passed away. I started hanging around with bad association again, and eventually I had my privileges removed. And as that was happening, Satan attacked me again. So one day, my wife was crossing the border to go take care of some paperwork for the kids. Was surprised by the Border Patrol telling her that there's drugs in the vehicle. We did not know that the previous owner had stashed drugs in the truck. Even though later they proved that the drugs were not my wife's and she was released, but they still decided to keep my kids. What I was thinking of doing was going back to my old ways, organizing a plot with my old friends to bring my kids back to Mexico to me. But I decided to rely on Jehovah instead and on the brothers coming to visit me on a regular basis, giving me encouraging thoughts of how Jehovah will take care of everything. Eventually, our kids were returned to us with Jehovah's help. After a little struggle, of course, I had my privileges back. A few months later, I was baptized. I'm a lot happier now than what I was back then. One day as I was preaching in the rehab centers, I ran into a person I once knew before growing up. Once he found out who I was, he says, "You're the reason why I left town. Every time you would see me, you would shoot at me." So after a while, I was able to convince him that actually my purpose there was not to hurt him anymore, but to teach him the truth and how to gain everlasting life. I'm no longer a violent person. I enjoy the privileges that Jehovah now gives me. I have now been serving as a ministerial servant for the past 2 years. I am in charge of the accounting for the Kingdom Hall instead of stealing money as I used to do before. What I do for a living is I do gardening work. Now I don't carry around knives, but I carry around my tools. You could say that I did beat my pistols into plowshares now, or weed whacker, or lawnmower. I'm glad that I'm now serving a great God who is loving, caring, and forgiving.
Fernando and his family are serving in an English congregation in Mexico. With everything Brother Casillas went through, he could see that Jehovah is the best teacher. If you listen to Jehovah, you won't have to learn the hard way. Jehovah is the one teaching you to benefit yourself. Jeremiah 17:13 conveys the thought that those who do not serve Jehovah will have their names written in the dust. But by building your future with Jehovah, you young ones are ensuring that Jehovah will keep your individual names written in His book of life that is mentioned at Philippians 4:3 and Revelation 3:5. Earlier in the program, we saw some examples of how young ones are building a future with Jehovah. But what impact are such efforts having on the organization? Let's look at one example: the construction of the new world headquarters at Warwick, New York.
Jehovah's Witnesses built 1.6 million square feet in less than 4 years.
Of the 27,035 volunteers, 3,247 were between the ages of 19 and 25.
I thought this was a project that was going to need strictly very experienced brothers and sisters. Early on, I realized I was wrong. It was going to take also youthful energy because of the volume of work.
The mix of older and younger ones was really a healthy thing on the Warwick project. The older ones brought skill and experience. The younger ones brought the energy, the muscle, and the diligence to stay with hard physical tasks all the way through the project.
Whether it was in the kitchen, or night watch, where the early 5 a.m. starts with the concrete crew at 10 degrees, their joy and their humility was outstanding to accept any work that needed to be done.
And a lot of young ones, brothers and sisters, moved into the area so they could commute.
And they would work day after day tirelessly, into the evenings even, to have the project ready for the next day. Their energy was just astonishing.
Jehovah loves young ones, and He's willing to invest in them and train them and make them a part of His organization. And I saw that so much.
We had a lot of young people who offered themselves with technical skills, but if the humility of these very technically skilled young people didn't match or exceed their abilities, then really Jehovah couldn't use them. And they were willing to adjust, and we really saw the benefit.
We knew, and they knew, that they were building not just a project at Warwick, they were building a spiritual project for Jehovah.
You could see Jehovah's Spirit operating on them. You could see them mature so quickly.
These young brothers are the next generation of elders, traveling overseers. They're to be commended and highly respected for the contribution they made as young men.
They all talk about the effect that their Bethel service has had on their outlook and how they don't want to get caught up in this world and its daily pursuits.
Use the skills you learned here on this project and in Bethel. You are needed. Continue to keep your spirituality up and to keep your association at a high level.
The highest quality of life is when, as clay, we put ourselves in the hands of the great potter Jehovah, and we say, "Here I am, send me." And I'm fully confident they will have no regrets building their future with Jehovah.
Yes, young ones truly had a beautiful impact on the construction project of World Headquarters. By the way, you may find it interesting to know that the Warwick and Walk Hill construction projects were not funded by the donations that you have made to the worldwide work. Your donations are being used to support the work in the worldwide field. The massive construction projects at Warwick and Wallkill were funded by the sale of properties in Brooklyn. In effect, we just traded locations. We traded the value of the properties in Brooklyn for the beautiful facilities at Warwick and Wallkill. And I must say, the governing body is truly enjoying the new facility at Warwick, thanks to the hard work, both of the young and the older ones who labored in our behalf, and we truly appreciate it. The Apostle Paul said of Timothy, as recorded at Philippians chapter 2 and verses 20 through 23, "For I have no one else of a disposition like his who will genuinely care for your concerns, for all the others are seeking their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But you know the proof he gave of himself, that like a child with a father, he slaved with me to advance the good news. Therefore, he is the one I am hoping to send." It is obvious that Paul loved the young man Timothy very much because of his unselfish hard work in behalf of kingdom interests. Well, the governing body feels exactly the same way about you, dear young ones, who are working hard in your various theocratic assignments. In addition to the many avenues of full-time service we mentioned earlier in the program, making yourself available when a need arises locally is a fine way to seek the kingdom first. For example, in San Antonio, in the state of Texas, in the United States, a large convention with over 20,000 in attendance was planned. However, the venue could only provide about 1/3 of the chairs needed for the convention. Where would our brothers find the needed chairs? Well, Jehovah provided, and many young ones were eager to help.
When I heard that this needed to happen, I was thinking, how are we going to do this?
I thought it's a big job.
It was amazing.
The first thing I was asked to do was try and find a storage place that we could use for 6,000 to 8,000 chairs. A sister manages a storage place, and we saw Jehovah's blessing because the owner says you can have this stall, no charge for a year, as long as you sign a contract that it's for a Jehovah's Witness organization.
Truckload after truckload after truckload came in. We had to unload the trucks. The brothers had to unstack the chairs, repair the chairs, clean the chairs, put them back on pallets, restack them, load them onto trucks. And that was half of it. That was the ones in the warehouse. On the other side, we got permission to ask the San Antonio congregations if we could use their chairs for the convention. We were hoping to get 3,000 chairs.
And then the numbers grew for the audience, so we had to increase our numbers. So we were able to gather 6,000 chairs from the willing volunteers at congregations around San Antonio.
So we prayed about it, and the brothers started asking for volunteers, and it was great cooperation right at the beginning.
As soon as we let the friends know that this was going to be the case, all of them said, we're going to get off of work early.
We immediately wanted to clear our schedule so that we can be available to help in any way that we can.
It was a privilege to know that our congregation was going to be part of it.
We are so grateful to Jehovah that he has given us this privilege to do.
We had thousands of chairs, every color, green, red, brown, blue, even had some bright orange ones left out of the 70s, and we're putting them in the back. But it was not just the colors, but the sizes. They were all different sizes. And so how do you make sections with straight rows when the chairs are all different sizes? But I knew somehow as Jehovah's people, we get it done. And we definitely, as you see, a lot of volunteers, and we're here getting it done.
It's made for a beautiful experience because the friends have got to know each other as they haven't before, and they're working willing together, and the excitement is there. It doesn't matter whose venue it is. It's all for Jehovah, and that's been the attitude everybody's had.
It just tells you that Jehovah is a God of order.
It's good to feel that you're doing your best for Jehovah.
Well, it reminds me of Psalms 127:1, where it mentions that unless Jehovah builds a house, it's in vain that his workers even work hard. So it's because of Jehovah's hand and his blessing is why everything runs so smoothly.
What other organization? No one else can do that except Jehovah's people.
It truly is a fine witness when our young ones wholeheartedly give of their time. Proverbs 20:29 says, "The glory of young men is their strength." And commendably, you young men and women are using your strength to make a name with Jehovah. Have you ever considered helping out in the foreign language field? Perhaps there is a need in your local circuit. All over the earth, the organization provides language courses with the goal of reaching every nation, tribe, tongue, and people with the good news of God's Word. Brother Juan Carlos Chacon serves as a special pioneer in the rapidly growing Shuar language field in Ecuador. He was recently asked to attend a course at the local branch to become a language teacher so that he could help willing publishers learn the language.
Noya nayim pinyam suntar nanamun wenkiam hei. Anteriormente les han dicho.
It has been said before,
Ese es un idioma
this is a language of the devil,
que deben olvidarse.
that it should be forgotten.
No les sirve.
It serves no purpose.
Para Jehová,
But to Jehovah,
ninguna nación.
no nation is insignificant.
Yo me crié
I grew up in an area of the Ecuadorian jungle where there is a large community of Shuar people.
como en muchos.
Like many native languages, Shuar is very complex.
Necesitamos
We need many, many workers in the field. But if we don't give them a foundation, if we don't help them or give them a little push, it's difficult for them to enter this field. I received an invitation to attend a seminar for language instructors.
Tutores de idioma. Estuvimos 50.
There were 58 students in the class, representing 16 different languages or language groups.
You are going to be at the cutting edge of language instruction.
We are learning fantastic teaching techniques, real techniques that work.
El instructor nos comentó.
The instructor told us how humor helps our minds to create a world of connections which stimulates our brain.
Puede impulsar a la mente.
Yeah, I'm like a small child when it comes to drawing. I never learned to draw well. We draw a scene, and starting with our native language, along with large gestures, we act out a dialogue. Little by little, we convert the scene into the new language.
Ese diálogo en un nuevo idioma.
Thank you for coming. Muchas gracias por venir. No? Y ahora. Thank you for coming.
What scares me? That I've never done this before. This will be my first time.
No tengo ni...
I don't have any experience teaching languages.
Siya, wen pratin chicham tuka amo kastinian nona ashi nunganam puhunya no shuaran.
Although I felt intimidated by this, I knew that with Jehovah, all things are possible. Welcome to the first day of the Shuar language course.
Bueno, las técnicas que nos ofrecieron para nosotros fueron...
The techniques they offered us in the course were like a box of tools that we need to study more carefully and see how to apply them in each circumstance.
A veces cuando estamos en el territorio, vemos...
When we are in the territory, we see how people's eyes light up when they learn the name of God.
Al ver que hay...
Just seeing that there is so much need for them to learn the truth.
La verdad,
that has motivated us to come here and continue serving here.
Since God has created us, we know that He will never abandon us. He thinks about us all the time, and He loves us very much. I didn't know that before. I feel so happy now because I can really understand the Word of God.
Estando en un grupo aislado de...
Being in an isolated group far from other congregations, my wife and I have felt every day how real Jehovah is. Jehovah is now looking and giving his attention to these small places, no matter how small they are. If people have a good heart and want to serve Jehovah, he will send workers to give the help that is needed. And in reality, this moves us to say to him with all of our heart, thank you, Jehovah.
There is a lot to do in Jehovah's organization regardless of our age. Even if our circumstances may restrict us, Jehovah sees and values all of our efforts to expand our ministry and to build an everlasting future with Him. Our music video for this month is appropriately entitled, Building My Future with Jehovah.
At times I wish I could see exactly what my future will be and how my life will turn out and which road is the right one for me. One thing's for sure, no matter what comes along, I live for Jehovah, to Him I belong. Of all the people and things my life could be filled with, the best one of all, the best one to build with is pleasing Jehovah each day. The choices I make, He gave me all that I have. I'll never forget it. I'm safe in His hands. I'll never regret it. I'm building my future with Him every step that I take. At times the chance comes along to take a path I know to be wrong, a path that leads me away from the place that I know I belong. But keeping in mind the dedication I made, can give me the firmness and faith that will fade. Of all the people and things my life one of all, the best one to build with is pleasing Jehovah each day with the choices I make. He gave me all that I have, I'll never forget it. I'm safe in His hands, I'll never regret it. I'm building my future with Him every step that I take. I'm building a future that never will end if I build it with help from Jehovah, my friend. The happiest moments, the best life can give, come from pleasing Jehovah each day that I live. Of all the people and things my life could be filled with, the best one of all, the best one to build with is pleasing Jehovah each day with the choices I make. He gave me all that I have, I'll never forget it. I'm safe in His hands, I'll never regret it. I'm building my future with Him every step that I take. I'm building my future with Him every step that I take.
An encouraging song indeed. We encourage all young ones to take the message of this program to build a future with Jehovah to heart. Prayerfully consider what you can do to expand your ministry. Always safeguard your most valuable possession, your precious relationship with Jehovah. Never forget that there are more with you than there are against you. It is true that Satan, the demons, and this world are against you. But your brothers and sisters, including the governing body, are with you. The angels are with you. The resurrected, immortal, anointed ones are with you. Jesus is with you. And most important, Jehovah is with you. You are never alone. To conclude, we have greetings to share with you from the special convention that was held in July of last year in Paris, France. I had the privilege of attending this convention with Brother Kenneth Flodine, a helper to the teaching committee. While most of the convention program was in French, it was simultaneously interpreted into Croatian, English, and Polish for the benefit of the international delegates. You will be happy to know that 71 new sisters and 41 new brothers symbolized their dedication through water baptism. The oldest baptism candidate was an 80-year-old sister, and the youngest was a 10-year-old. The young candidates had to overcome various challenges in order to reach their goal of baptism. 4 of them took this step, even though their parents are not Jehovah's Witnesses. Many of these dear young ones had to overcome peer pressure at school, pressure to do things Jehovah does not like. 2 of the young brothers, also fleshly brothers, used to play violent video games. Through their personal Bible study and the personal interest shown in them, they came to understand Jehovah's viewpoint on violence and made the necessary changes to progress spiritually. By taking the step of getting baptized, these brothers and sisters have shown that they want to build a future with Jehovah. let us all do everything we can to continue making spiritual progress, which will bring Jehovah's smile of approval. Brothers and sisters, we love you very much. This is JW Broadcasting from the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses.